actually wrote and recorded the audio for this a couple months ago, but I've had a lot going on and never got around to editing and releasing it. Mostly, it had to do with just trying to get by and my brother moving in. Overcrowded trailer and all. But things have settled down a bit for the moment, and it's still worth mentioning. Oh, and before I forget, I've been working on my Discord server. Link will be in the description if you want to join. Anyway, enjoy! In the other two parts of this response, I've basically just jumped off of key questions to discuss what I consider to be important topics. There is one specific idea expressed, however, that I also think needs to be addressed. One section of the video repeatedly had me cringing at the knowledge of how similar rhetoric is used and the practical results of the idea. The idea, I believe, stems from this common and seemingly anti-racist view.
You know, the only race I truly think exists in regards to humanity is the human race.
On face value, this seems wonderful. The concept of race shouldn't matter. After all, ideally, we should look at each individual to make any judgments we're going to make, and some arbitrary box like race shouldn't play into it at all. The problem is, historically, it has mattered very much, and it still does matter to some degree. Perhaps an ideal world would have no concept of races of humans, but we do not live in that world, we live in this one. But that statement by itself could still be the antithesis of racism. By itself, it could merely be a statement about how he personally views the world. It doesn't necessitate stripping away or denying details, only that the individual saying it rejects the very idea of races of humans. And, in fact, there may be some cognitive dissonance in play here, but I'll try not to presume too much about what's going on inside his head. Backtracking to get a little bit of a clearer picture of what's going on here.
But of course now, in today's day and age, I've read and heard that
saying that we should all just stop calling each other black, white, whatever other colors there are, is in fact racist somehow. So, no more Black History Month. Let's just celebrate people that have done excellent things. Let's not celebrate people based on anything other than the fact that they've accomplished something amazing. How about that? Let's just have, if we're going to have a celebration of X, Y, and Z, let's just have a celebration of people that have accomplished things. Or Volunteer Recognition Day, and there's places that do that, but maybe not enough. Well, because these people have been downtrodden for so long that they need some sort of boost in recognition, so that, you know, we undo the past by, you know, saying, hey, look, yeah, so we recognize you did some good things, we're going to celebrate you, woo! And does that go into celebrating them because of their color rather than their accomplishments? I mean, yeah, it might be doubly impressive that they accomplished something despite prejudice in the era that they happen to exist in. And maybe you can say that, sure, but do we need to celebrate them because of that double win? Or is it enough to just celebrate them for a single win? And is asking that question racist?
Perhaps, and hear me out here, perhaps they're not actually intending to say what you're hearing. I mean, obviously I don't know the individual cases of what you heard or read, so maybe I'm giving too much credit here without realizing it. But what it seems to me is likely meant, at least by those who are reasonable and thinking it through, is that it disregards the important distinctions in information. And in doing so, it undervalues the accomplishments of certain people, in this case based on race, by acting as if that missing information that, as you called it, double win, isn't worth discussing. Perhaps I can make this clearer by stepping away from race for a moment. Instead of focusing on race, let's say we have someone who comes up with the cure for cancer. That's an amazing achievement, and we could absolutely celebrate that on its own. But let's say this person didn't just come up with the cure for cancer. They overcame poverty to get there. Trying to get a good education, they had to navigate financial aid far more carefully than most, and dealt with people discouraging them because you'll never be able to afford it. How can you expect to handle working to survive and keeping up with classes? They got the things they needed to eventually make this breakthrough through a combination of self-sacrifice and ingenuity that goes beyond what most successful people, including most of the other scientists in their field, ever have to worry about. Eventually, they were able to actually work on this cure, and they succeeded. Now, let's also say that a future version of our society has fixed quite a few issues that lead to poverty being regularly passed down. They've done even more to ensure that a similar person in their day actually could get the necessary education without even having to worry about a single disaster destroying the whole attempt. They've also been trying to bring about a sort of social equality for poor people, and some of the society thinks that what's currently standing in the way of poor people being viewed as just as good, just as capable, or just as whatever as rich people is actually the very discussion of wealth itself. So they're fine with discussing this person's cure for cancer, but do we really have to focus on how they were poor as well, or was curing cancer enough? In this non-racialized scenario, we have the same basic issue at play. A detail that shouldn't really matter, that doesn't matter as much as it used to, and that people are striving not to make matter anymore. Some people are focused on it, even to excess. Others want to erase it from the collective consciousness completely. Who's right? Well, I don't know exactly. I tend to see those details as important, but it's possible that at some point they just become a distraction. What I do think I can safely say is that it would be rather nonsensical to claim that those who want to keep the details in people's minds, want to celebrate that double win, are celebrating them, quote, for their poverty rather than their accomplishments. I think that dismissing some sort of poverty overcoming month because it somehow diminishes the accomplishments of those who weren't born impoverished would be fairly absurd. And I can certainly see why someone might, rightly or wrongly, think that a person suggesting it is biased against the group getting special recognition for their accomplishments against the odds. Now, would I accuse someone of being racist for asking the question? Well, no. This is somewhat distinct from the actual questions of are they racist, and is the question, or is asking the question, racist? Because I don't really think accusing people of being racists is helpful. If they genuinely are, to a level that is seriously concerning and would justify the baggage that goes along with that accusation, they're unlikely to care. Even if they care initially, soon they'll likely just embrace it if they can't hide it, because they think, well, it's the truth. If they aren't, or if they genuinely don't want to be, then it's potentially attacking an overall decent person. Also sets them up to be defensive rather than truly consider whatever you may have been hoping to point out. The only real uses I can think of for such an accusation are in warning other people about it, which becomes useless if people call every minor, possibly technically correct, thing racist. Or the other use would actually require far more nuance and care than simply going, that's racist. And that's even if racist is accurate and useful in the particular case at all. As far as...
the only race I truly think exists in regards to humanity is the human race.
Goes, though. The reality is more complex than that. We're one species, sure. If you're talking about race in the biological sense, I honestly don't know if there are any different races of humans at all. It would make sense given the distinct populations that existed for a while, but perhaps not. But the concept of race usually being discussed is one that might be more reasonably discussed in terms of ethnic groups, or, as some would put it, racialized groups. These groups do exist. There are differences in experiences, and in societies where several live together, there are differences in how each experiences that same society. There are differences in how they're treated many times. Of course, there are many other things that can change the lens through which we see the world, and change how others perceive us, and many of them shouldn't change that. Real life is complicated. Humans are complicated. But essentially just going, let's quit talking about all that and pretend it doesn't exist, because at the end of the day, we're all humans, misses or erases a ton. Thanks for hearing me out. As always, civil discussion, suggestions, and constructive criticism are welcome in the comments or via social media. Feel free to rate, comment, and share. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe and click the bell for notifications, and check out the description for any sources that I've used.